The Champions League format is done. It is dusted. It is finished. Only for now. The format is over. I can't believe that we're at the end of January and we are still talking about the Champions League group stages, or the equivalent of. We all know that most of Christmas, January and February is normally no European football. And it's normally looking at talking about who we're going to be playing in March in the last 16. Now it's complete change. And I've got to say, for those that weren't sure about it, me being one of them, I'm going to say this. I enjoyed it. I actually did think fair play. And I was definitely one of those to start with who said I didn't like change and I didn't want this format to look at potentially there being the start of a potential European Super League. And I still think that is potentially on the cards one day, right? But I'll say I actually enjoyed it more. It was more exciting. Tonight, all of the games chopping and changing the way that the league table looked was quite exciting, particularly for those down the bottom that were trying to get into the top 8, that were looking to try and get into the top 24. And Manchester City were one of those teams. And it looked like tonight there was quite a few chopping and changing from it. I watched the Arsenal game, of course, and I did have on in the background the goal show, which showed all of the goals going in. And the league table just looked to be ups and downs, ups and downs. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the performance of Arsenal, individual performances as well. We are going to touch on this Ollie Watkins £60 million bid. And we're going to look at who we might get now in the next round of the Champions League, which is going to be quite an interesting one from what we can see. So do me a favor, people, hit the like button. Make sure that you hit subscribe as well. Please make sure you check out our sponsors, Reality Raffles. They've got a couple of unbelievable prizes at the moment. There's a brilliant chance to win an iPhone 16. 50 pence for a ticket. Can see how many tickets there are on sale. Reality Raffles on social media. Link in the description. Please make sure that you follow it. And there's another opportunity to win a Mini Cooper as well. So please make sure that you're in for those raffle draws. They will be drawn at the end of February. So please make sure that you get your tickets. Back to the football. Let's talk about it. The team lineup suggested that we were going to rotate, and that's exactly what Mikel Arteta did. Let's go through the team. I didn't expect to see Neto today, but we saw him. We're going to come to his performance in a minute, but there is actually a knock and an injury potentially to David Raya, and that could be massive for the weekend if that is going to keep him out of that game. Now, I hope that he is going to be back and he is just being rested as precaution and he'll be fine to get himself back into it. I need to look at more on the injury. If anyone knows or has heard anything more on David Raya's injury, please do let me know in the chat, because it'd be really good to see if he's going to actually be available at the weekend. We need him after the performance tonight of Neto. Trust me, people, we really need him. That was a poor performance. We're going to come to that in a minute. The back line, a few changes to the back line. Calafiori at left back obviously came on in the last game due to MLS getting a red card and scored. I thought he was actually good again going forward tonight. We had Gabriel and Kivior partnering at centre-back. We saw Partey coming in at right-back. Jorginho, Marino and Odegaard in the midfield. And then a front three which consisted of Raheem Sterling, Ethan Nwaneri and Leandro Trossard. The bench consisted of a little bit of a mix, really, with Havertz and Rice, on there. Obviously, Martinelli on the bench, Saliba on the bench, and a few of the kids as well, Salah and Dean, and obviously Butler Odeji, both getting a call up to the squad and sitting out this one on the subs bench. Good experience for them as well to be a part of the mix, to be fair. But very sensible from Mikel Arteta. I didn't want to see Saliba because he's only just come back. So that's good that he didn't get a mix into the things. But everybody else got a few minutes, to be fair. Look, I don't think there was anybody that was absolutely terrible tonight. But there were certainly some pretty poor performances yet again. Now, some of them were a bit meh performances. Some of them were pretty standard performances. Some showed glimpses of quality. And some were pretty poor, if I'm honest with you. Let's start with the goalkeeper. Can anyone please in the chat explain to me what Neto was doing? Can anyone please explain to me what our goalkeeper was trying to do? He comes rushing out, right, with a rush of blood to the head. He's so far out that he's probably got a nosebleed. And not only does he put himself in no man's land, he actually tries to dive with his hands for the shot. Now, if he touches that, right, He 100% gets sent off. So what the hell is he doing? This is an experienced goalkeeper, by the way, at 35, 36 years old. Bournemouth, my guy Sam from Back of the Net podcast, he said to me, "What are you doing getting him? He is dreadful." I said, "Really?" He said, "Bro, he cannot catch a cold." I said, fairly harsh. Bournemouth have been clearly playing him. Well, Bournemouth have decided to choose Kepa ahead of Neto. That's how little they rate him. They've allowed him to come to Arsenal, and you can see now why Mikel Arteta has not been interested in playing him, and it's taken a David Raya injury in the Champions League for him to actually get a game. I was not a fan. Not a fan at all of that performance from Neto. Now, literally everything else he did, it was kicking was okay. Distribution isn't terrible, but could be better. It's nowhere near the level of Raya. He collected most of what he wanted. He's fairly tall and commanding, but if I'm honest with you, I looked at that and that worried me. Against the team that are struggling to get through to the group stages, it was so easy and made so easy for the guy to score. He comes rushing out like some madman. And not only does he think, I'm in the wrong position, I've got it wrong, I've made a bad judgment, my positioning's poor, he then tries to dive with it with his hands. I mean, let's just be real here. He touches that, we're down to 10. It's embarrassing. It's so bad. So bad. It really is. So look, don't want to see much of him. Hopefully we won't. Hopefully Raya's back and we're in a position where we can actually get Raya back in goal, because I do not want to be seeing him in goal long term, man, because it was poor. Let's go to the defense. Kivior again, man. I just don't get it. I just don't think he's good enough for Arsenal. I'm sorry. I just don't. I mean, he didn't have a shambles tonight, but the goal they scored that was offside was him not picking up his man. Some of the pressure he puts the players under by his passing. He can see two man on people and he just still drifts the ball into them. I just don't like that sort of player. I like players to be calm and collective on the ball. And I know they're not all going to be Saliba, that level of calm and composure, but it needs to have some level of calm and composure. And I just don't feel that Kivior's got that. I just really don't, to be fair. So not a fan of his performance. Gabriel was Gabriel, fairly threatening from corners, pretty comfortable on the ball. Calafiori, I thought, was actually okay tonight and drifted forward into good positions, actually scored a goal that, of course, was offside, but really did put himself forward. I like him on the ball. I'm just not sure about his positioning at times, people. That's all I would question. I'd still like to see him at centre-back to work out if I like him bombing down that left and getting into those positions, or if I do find him more comfortable, calm and composing on the ball as a left-sided centre-back. But we haven't seen that yet. Whether we see that in the long-term future, he's only 21 years old. You'd like to think that he's got a long-term future in the game. Hopefully it's at Arsenal, and hopefully he starts to prove that he can be a really good squad player for us. But right now, I haven't seen enough of him to say that he's our starting left back or left-sided centre-back. He's definitely not ahead of Gabriel in that position. Could he stay at left back? Well, I think Miles Lewis-Skelly's got that nailed down in my opinion. I think the position there is his right now. But an okay performance from Calafiori. At right back, we saw Thomas Partey. Look, I'm not a fan of Thomas Partey at right back, but tonight I didn't think he was too bad. There wasn't much that we had a threat. I know they scored down that right-hand side, and Partey and Kivior for the goal have probably got to do a little bit better, to be honest, in terms of their positioning and their communication. But Neto makes it very, very easy, doesn't he? So not a massive fan of Partey playing there, but I will say this. I don't mind him playing there tonight, because it means that Timber and Saliba get a bit of a break. Now, he actually did, lo and behold, bring Timber on. And it was a shame when he went down holding his head, because I really don't want to see him getting injured at the moment. He's a player that just absolutely needs some rest. And him and Partey together, kind of sharing that, I was okay with it. But I don't want to see much of Timber. I need to be seeing Timber fit. So I don't want to be seeing much of Timber for those sort of games. Glad that Saliba didn't come on tonight. And no sign of Zinchenko or Tierney. MLS come on. Great that his red card's been rescinded. I expect him to play, if I'm honest, against Manchester City. I do. I think it'll be a flip of a coin for Mikel Arteta for who decides to play this game. Calafiori's come on and impressed and started tonight and impressed, but Miles Lewis-Skelly's been so good. I think it should be him that remains at left back, and he should play against Manchester City. Then we move into midfield. Look, Jorginho's just a steady Eddie, isn't he? Jorginho just keeps the ball moving nicely, good passing, good balance in midfield. I think he keeps the tempo, sometimes slows it down when it needs to be slowed down. And his passing is actually quite underrated in the game. I think he's a very, very good passer of the football. I think he can see a pass. I think his weight of pass is usually pretty good as well. He wasn't outstanding tonight, but by no means was he poor. Marino, I'm just not feeling it, people. And I don't want to be one of these guys that sounds like he's not going to change his opinion, because I really would if I saw something that he's doing that is looking very promising going forward, or really pivotal to how we're playing, or starts play, breaks up play, starts movement of something good, shows a creative pass or two. I've just got to be really brutally honest and say that I think this is a really bang average footballer that we've signed. There's nothing tonight again that I looked at to think, wow, I'm so glad that we spent that £30 million on him. And this is against a Girona team that I really thought he could have done something against. I mean, he played against them, twice every season for Real Sociedad. I expected him to be one of the shining lights tonight just because of that reason. And it weren't happening. It weren't happening tonight for him. He wasn't bad. Again, like I've said before, he wasn't. Odegaard, likewise, wasn't bad. Got on the ball quite well, sprayed some passes about, moved us forward, got the right-hand side working. But again, not a fantastic performance from Odegaard. I didn't see enough from him tonight that made me feel like he was back to his best. He's definitely not been 100% well. I think the sickness kept him out again at the Wolves game, and he was obviously out a few weeks ago with that. And he's still not looking 100% fit, if I'm honest with you. I think there's more to come from Martin Odegaard still. Once we do get the Martin Odegaard that we love to watch and we do see fully fit, I think we'll start to create a lot more going forward. But certainly at the moment, certainly wasn't another game that, I thought that he shone in, if I'm honest. And I believed he would have against the Girona side that I think he needs to be doing a lot better in. So that's what I would say with Martin Odegaard. When it comes to the front three, tonight I'm going to start with Trossard and Sterling. I don't think either of them were horrendously bad, but if I'm honest with you, nothing is coming off for Raheem Sterling at the moment. Just nothing. Nothing seems to be going well for him. I don't think that he is not trying. I don't think he's waltzing around the pitch. I don't think he's lazy. I just don't think he's very good, if I'm honest with you. And at 29 years old, I think he's seen the last decade at his best, winning everything in the game, becoming one of the greats in the Premier League, scoring an unbelievable amount of goals. And I think his time's done, if I'm honest. I don't look at his time at Arsenal and think that he's got a bright future in the game with us. Everything that was happening was pretty meh from Raheem Sterling. And even some glimpses I thought, oh, that looks quite good play. And then it wouldn't come off. He'd run into a man. He'd release it too late. He'd lose the ball. He missed a penalty tonight, and I just kind of knew it. It was kind of the nail in his coffin of his confidence at the moment. It just doesn't look like anything's going right for him. He can't get anything right. He can't seem to move forward with Arsenal, and he can't seem to start his Arsenal career. It was pretty poor, if I'm honest. And we gave him that penalty for obvious reasons. Chris, big up Red Smoke in the chat, has said it. Sympathy penalty. I agree. It was a sympathy penalty, and he missed it. He missed it. And there was a real chance to kind of give him a bit of a boost and give him a lift and kill the game off. It was a good save. I'll say that. It wasn't a shocking penalty. It didn't have much behind it, did it? And that's the problem with Raheem Sterling. I've never looked at his shots and thought they were powerful, even at Liverpool, Manchester City, and at Chelsea. I never thought when he went through, he's going to bury this because it's going to be a bullet to the back net or top corner. There's no saving these shots. There always is saving these shots with Raheem Sterling. He taps the ball, doesn't he? He doesn't drive through the ball. So tonight, I'm looking at his performance thinking, what does his future look like at Arsenal? And I think it ends in May, if I'm honest with you. We're at the end of January. I think he's got another 3 or 4 months at the club to try and show that he's got something to be some form of squad player. But other than that, I don't see him staying at the club. Not on that wage anyway. I think Chelsea will end up selling him on to a Palace or potentially a West Ham or somebody like that to go and try and revive his career elsewhere. Or he'll go over to Saudi and try and earn a living over there. That's my honest opinion on Raheem Sterling. As for Trossard, a couple of kind of positions he put himself into. One in the first half, it just actually the ball just hit him. I don't quite know what he was trying to do, if I'm honest. I think he has to do a hell of a lot better there. But yeah, I wasn't massively keen on Trossard, but he wasn't bad. There were some good parts of his game, and I do like the fact that he gives 110% and he drives forward and his attitude looks pretty good. My only worry with Trossard is where does his future lie if he's rejecting a new contract with Arsenal and his contract runs out next year? So he's only got one more season after this one. So what do we do in the summer? We've got to sell him if he's not going to stay, even if it's for 10 million or something like that. We're going to have to try and get some money for him. There's potential rumours that he could be off to Dubai. To Saudi Arabia. It looks like there's an opportunity there, but I just don't believe that he is happy at Arsenal, if I'm honest. Ever since the Aston Villa game where he came on and scored, I always believed that there was a little bit of tension there about why aren't you starting me, boss? And I think when he has tried to start him, I don't think he's delivered. Trossard is an impact sub, and I don't think he wants to be an impact sub. Now, tonight he was okay. There was nothing about his game that I hated. There was nothing about it that I particularly loved. But if I'm honest with you, I don't think that Trossard is in a position to have any form of kind of potential future at Arsenal if he's going to be rejecting a contract. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. So look, let's start or end, should I say, with the positive of the night. Yet again, Ethan Nwaneri. Ethan Nwaneri, he's a baller, right? He's a baller. And he's the positive light right now. And the other positive light is Miles Lewis-Skelly. Both of those players at 17, 18 years old, we're looking at now already thinking, was Saka doing this? Was Martinelli doing this? Like, seriously, when Martinelli and Saka were playing, they were surrounded by much worse players. So you can say potentially then that it's not fair to kind of relate or compare. I will say this. When they've come on, they've been one of the better players. They've been one of the best players. Now, when Saka and Martinelli were coming in, they were looking like shining lights, but they were surrounded by the goals of Aubameyang, and they were surrounded by, at the time, the class of Dani Ceballos, who was doing quite well at the time. If you remember, I say quite well. For where we were, he was doing quite well. I thought Kieran Tierney was playing pretty well at the time. So really, we had players like that, Lacazette and Aubameyang, that were the ones that people were talking about. They weren't saying, oh my God, Saka and Martinelli are winning us these games, or they're scoring goals, or they're contributing massively. But Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri, in a better team, are actually doing that. That's what's mad. Like, they actually were doing pretty well and have been doing pretty well in a good side now. That's what fills me with most confidence. Lewis-Skelly's been one of our best players this season. At 17 as a left back, playing in a position that I never expected him to play. I'm really, really impressed. Really, really impressed. Then I look at Ethan Nwaneri, and every time he gets the ball, it looks like something's going to happen. He's threatening. He looks a threat to the opposition. He shows flair, and he's kind of allowed somewhat to express what he can do on the football, which I think is really wonderful to see in such a youngster. He seems to have the confidence to go and take anybody on. He doesn't seem out of place. He doesn't look like he can't keep up. He doesn't look like he's naive and needs a few more years to mature. He looks level-headed and mature enough to develop into a wonderful player. And I have to say, I wasn't saying that about Saka at 17. I thought he could be a good player. Then I look at Martinelli and I thought the same. Wow, once he gets an opportunity, he could be a good player. I'm looking at Nwaneri and MLS at the moment thinking, I think both of them could actually start right now. Now, I understand why he's going to start because Saka's out injured. But if I'm honest with you, I'll be playing him anyway with Saka there. And I'll be playing him in the middle with Odegaard ahead of guys like Marino because he can play in a number of positions even. We saw tonight he was drifting into the middle. He was staying out wide. He was cutting in on his left. He was causing havoc. He was causing a nuisance. It was a bit chaotic to play against him because you didn't quite know where he was going to go. And I just think the performances are becoming more consistent, but we're also becoming more mature. And it looks like he's developing and understanding his play more. So I'm a big fan. Big fan. And I will say, look, there's a great opportunity for Ethan right now because Saka's out. I don't think Mikel Arteta wants to admit it, but I think he knows he made a boo-boo when Odegaard was out because he should have played Ethan. He just should have. Ethan showing him perhaps he was ready earlier than he thought. Saliba showed everybody he was ready earlier than we brought him back. And who knows, if we had Saliba the year before, would we have got top 4? I reckon we would have, because he's better than Holding and he was better than Chambers and the players we had at the time. Ethan Nwaneri is better in that position than Trossard. That's just a fact. I think everyone can see that who's got a set of eyes. So we need to understand that he's ready. And Ethan is a player that I've got a lot of time for. And so is Miles. Now, what I will say is we do need to protect them. And we can't be now slaughtering them and playing them for the last 20 games of the season. We've got to make sure that we look at their game time, rotate them wisely, play them when's needed, bring them off when's needed, rotate them when needed. And we've got to look after these two kids because we've got something special here, guys. We really have. We've got 2 youth talents that I think will make it into the first team. And I'm talking about the squad. They might not both make the first 11. And you know what? I don't think they're expecting to. I think they want to be a part of the squad and they're quite happy right now. But we've got to look after them big time. We really have. So look, what does that mean for the Champions League? It's over now. What does it mean? Well, let's take a look at the Champions League table, shall we? Because we might as well bring it up and show what's happening in all of the positions. This is the final table. This is where we are at right now. And Liverpool are successful in winning the group. They did actually lose tonight, but they have managed to top the group. Barcelona in second with 19 points. On the same points are both Arsenal and Inter Milan. Now, I'll say this, which is quite interesting. Those 4 teams, I believe, along with Real Madrid, are the favourites to win the whole competition. Liverpool have been phenomenal this season. Barcelona have looked very, very good under Hansi Flick, with players like Rafinha and Lamine Yamal absolutely balling out. You've got Inter Milan under Simone Inzaghi, who, for me, looked like a great shout to lump some money on to win the whole competition. And then you've got Arsenal. So are Arsenal looking like they can compete with the big boys right now? Well, they're not in terms of trophies. But if you look at how we're playing, look at what the league table is suggesting, look at what our domestic league table is suggesting. Yeah, we're behind Liverpool in both of those. But actually, we're second in the league and we're third in the Champions League. That doesn't mean, oh my God, what a magnificent season. What it means is that perhaps it isn't all doom and gloom. Right now, I'm not really impressed by what I've seen so far this season. But it's not like we're out of everything by February and it's season over. We've still got something to play for. We can still win the Premier League mathematically, although it's going to be tough. We can still win the Champions League because it's a knockout competition. We've got to try and get a deficit of 2-0 at St James's Park, which I think is absolutely not going to happen. And we're out of the FA Cup. So it might be that we're only in the 2 big boy competitions. But we've still got both to play for. And that's what's got to be a positive. You've got Atletico Madrid, Leverkusen, Lille, and Villa. Now, if I'm honest with you, those 4 teams at the start before a ball was kicked, I probably didn't have all 4 of them getting into the top 8. Instead of those 4 teams, I probably would have put Manchester City, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and maybe I would have thrown in somebody like Dortmund or one of those type teams. But for Liverpool, Arsenal and Villa all to get into the top 8, that's really good for English football. Really, really good. Manchester City, they let the country down, man. They let the country down. Then it becomes interesting. We've got Atalanta, who come in 9th. We've got Dortmund, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and AC Milan. Teams that I really expected to do a lot better. And you know what? Teams that are well respected in this competition. Dortmund have been to finals and been successful. Real Madrid, one of the most successful teams in the world, the most successful team in the world. You've got Bayern Munich who've won this competition. AC Milan have won this competition. Then it moves down to PSV and PSG, Benfica and Monaco. And making up the last few numbers, of course, are Brest, Feyenoord, Juventus, Celtic, who have done phenomenally well to get into the top 24, Manchester City, Sporting Lisbon, and Club Brugge. Now, Club Brugge have managed to squeeze in to the last 24. And Manchester City, after going 1-0 down, were able to turn it around the deficit and win the game by 3-1, and they have managed to go through. So that's the top 24. The teams that have missed out, I really don't think there's any massive shockers, if I'm honest with you. Dynamo Zagreb, Stuttgart, who'll be disappointed, Shakhtar Donetsk, Bologna, Red Star Belgrade, Sturm Graz, Sparta Prague, Leipzig, Girona, Salzburg, Bratislava, and Young Boys. There's nobody in those teams that I've read out that I'm shocked by or stunned by. None of them looked particularly outstanding. I think Zagreb might be a little disappointed the fact that they've actually finished on the same amount of points as City, Sporting, and Club Brugge, but because of their -7 goal difference, they've gone out in 25th place. Everybody else, if you're getting 10 points or less, you can't really expect to go through. If I'm honest with you, it's not really something I'd look at and go, oh, that's a bit harsh. I thought they might have gone through with 10 points. Not going to happen. They said you needed between 15 and 18. Yeah, they were right. You needed towards 18 to be guaranteed that you were going to go through. And that's very hard to do with only 8 games to play. So that's very interesting. So look, what does it mean moving forward for Arsenal and who we can get? Well, I weren't really sure about how this worked out. So I thought we'd have a little bit more of a divulge into that and look more at who we could potentially get. Now, there's the opportunity for us at the moment with how things stand. Looking at the teams that we can face in the round of 16, Arsenal can't face off against any of the teams who finish in the top 8 in the round of 16. So we definitely can't pull out any of those 7 that are in the top 8 with us. Each team will take a seeding for that phase. Instead, they'll take on one of the teams facing off in the 2-legged playoff matches, meaning the earliest they could play another top 8 team is in the quarters. It means of the teams they could face, the following are available. So we could have potentially one of the following teams in the next round, which will be the round of 16. We could face AC Milan, who are a team who've done very well in this competition and have an unbelievable European heritage when it comes to success in Europe. You've got PSV Eindhoven, which I think most Arsenal fans would take after having played them in the Europa League, and I think we played them last year in the Champions League, funny enough. To get them again, we've proven we can beat them. Feyenoord, Arne Slot's old team, a side that have still got a great side, and they're doing quite well from what I hear, and have done quite well in the Champions League. And then Juventus, which is a team that I don't think anybody would want. I think you'd probably want one of the Dutch teams there as opposed to the Italian teams, right? So, look, put it in the chat. Who would you like? Put it in the comment section. Do you want AC Milan, Juventus, PSV, or Feyenoord? PSV would be the one that I would like, personally. I think they're beatable. But I'll say this. I think all 4 of those teams are beatable. I don't look at any of those 4 teams and think, yeah, Arsenal aren't beating them over 2 legs. No way. Juventus aren't even that great at the moment. AC Milan definitely aren't the AC Milan of old. You've got PSV and Feyenoord, who I think have done well in their domestic leagues and certainly are 100% a Champions League club, but really we should be beaten. PSV, people in the chat are saying, or Feyenoord. A lot of people are saying PSV. Some people are saying any of them. Who cares? Who cares? And that's fair as well. That is fair. Because we're in a position where we can't really be fussy about it. We've done our job. We've got into the top 8. We're 3rd in the new format of the league, and that's impressive. So hopefully we will have a draw that we can be pleased with. And I would be pleased with those 4. I'd much rather take them than a Real Madrid. I'd much rather take them than a Dortmund, to be fair. I'd be more than happy to go out to the San Siro or in Turin. I'd be more than happy to go over to the Netherlands and play those teams. So for me, it's good. We don't have to travel miles away either. I think it would be quite a good draw for us to get those potentially. So that's us in the Champions League. We now look towards the Sunday game, which is massive, against Manchester City, and hope that although they've played their strongest team tonight to win, they have won. Let's just hope that some of ours have got some rest. We go back to our best team. The team for Sunday, in my opinion, if fit, will be Raya. There is suggestions he's got a knock. Hopefully he's not out. Timber right back, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly, Rice, Partey, Odegaard, and then a front 3 of Ethan Nwaneri, up top, Kai Havertz, and Martinelli on the left. That would be my team for Sunday. Let's see what Mikel Arteta believes and what he goes with. Let's talk quickly on the transfer market, because there are huge reports coming out suggesting that Arsenal are interested in the deal for Ollie Watkins. Now, there is a bid that's gone in, we believe, on Monday that was for £60 million that's been rejected by Aston Villa. And there are suggestions that actually Arsenal are willing to go back into the market for him and make an improved bid. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this. I think this is very unlikely to happen for a number of reasons. The main reason being, I don't think Aston Villa want to sell at all. Now, why would they want to? Why would they want to sell? It makes absolutely no sense for them to want to sell. It makes no sense for them to want to look at potentially allowing Duran and Ollie Watkins both to leave. It's crazy. It's actually mad. Why would Aston Villa say, we're finally in the Champions League, we've just got through to the last 8 knockout phase, the best thing we need to do now is sell Duran and Watkins? What? Felix is mentioned. João Felix to Villa. I'll be stunned if they got rid of both of these. Now, there are reports tonight suggesting that John Duran looks like he could be off to Saudi Arabia. And they're saying that only one of him or Boniface will be allowed to leave and be signed. So Boniface is obviously at Bayer Leverkusen. Duran's obviously at Villa. I think they're looking at both and they're seeing which one fancies it. And it sounds like Duran is favourite. Now, there's suggestions tonight that he's agreed personal terms and there's been a fee agreed of around 70 million euros. So it looks like John Duran is off. There's no way, if that's true, that Ollie Watkins goes as well. There's just no way. That just will not happen. I can't see how you can sell John Duran and then you can sell Watkins as well and end up with João Felix. That's just not something that makes any sense for Aston Villa when they're trying to go through in these competitions. Now, look, I like Ollie Watkins and I like John Duran, and I would take both of them in January, or one of both of them in January, and they would both start for Arsenal. But if it's 60 million that's been rejected and we're going to go back in with 70, 75, are we starting to get towards a Victor Gyökeres money that I would rather be putting that money on? Now, people might say that's a massive risk ahead of Ollie Watkins, who's proven to score goals for Aston Villa. But Ollie Watkins, as we saw tonight with his penalty, is actually quite wasteful. We saw it at Villa Park. He's missed chances in front of goal against Arsenal. He's not a bad footballer. I'm not saying it's a player that I just do not want. But I would say that as much as I think it's a good signing, I don't think it's the elite level that takes us across the line. Liverpool fans, Manchester City fans, and other rival fans have said, oh, yeah, fair play. It's probably better than Havertz, but I hope that Arsenal get him because it's not going to take him across the line. And that would worry me. That would worry me. What I'd want is Man City, Liverpool to go, oh, that's really annoying they're getting him. Now, I have to say, out of 10, the likelihood of this happening, I'd probably put it at like a 4 out of 10. I've got no doubt that Ollie Watkins is interested in coming to Arsenal. He's a massive Arsenal fan. And at 29, he probably knows that this is his last opportunity to get his dream move. But Aston Villa have got to say, yes, okay. It's fine for player rep saying he wants to come Arsenal. It's fine for Ollie Watkins to say he wants to move. It's fine for Arsenal to say they want him and pay the money. Arsenal have got the money. That's not the issue. Arsenal can afford his wages. That's not the issue. Ollie Watkins wants to move. That's not the issue. His player reps have said, yeah, let's go do it. The personal terms from what we hear have been agreed. It's now all on Aston Villa and whether they actually want to allow this player to leave the club. And if it's going to be John Duran that leaves, Watkins will stay. If it's going to be Watkins that goes, John Duran will probably be asked to stay. So this is getting really interesting now and it's hotting up for sure. So let's look at what we do know so far. And let's share it on screen and let's have a look at it. Now, a few hours ago, I was live with Lee Gunner and we were obviously talking about this as it broke. And both of us don't really see this one happening. But let's take a look at it because it is fairly interesting from what we've seen. So, a few hours ago, the secret scout suggested that Arsenal had approached Villa to sign Watkins, with talks advancing on a fee in the region of 60 million. The player wants to make the move, apparently. Then there was a few rumours suggesting that, would you want him? Is it someone that you would look at? Discuss this. Again, the dream is to play for Arsenal one day. It's a long shot. That was back in 2020. Then Sammy Mokbel suggested that it's understood Arsenal have made an initial offer for Ollie Watkins, which has been rejected by Villa, but an improved attempt is expected. Mikel Arteta is a long-term admirer of the player. So look, Mikel Arteta likes him. Ollie Watkins a gooner. Ollie Watkins wants Arsenal. Personal terms agreed. Player reps have said yes. Now it's all on Aston Villa. 60 million has been rejected though. Then Romano suggested that it's been rejected and that was worth £60 million from Arsenal. And then there's rumours of Matthias Tell as well from Bayern Munich. So these two players have been heavily linked with Arsenal over the last few hours. It's not just Arsenal that Matthias Tell is being linked with. Manchester United, Tottenham and Chelsea all in direct contact with him as well. This, I believe, is to be a loan deal. And then John Cross has got involved and said Arsenal have had a 60 million bid for Watkins turned down by Villa, but they're ready to make a fresh offer before Monday's transfer deadline. Arsenal are keen on Sesko, and he remains their long-term target for the summer. Does anyone see us getting Watkins and Sesko in the next two windows? I just don't. I don't think Arsenal would sign Watkins in one window in the winter, Sesko in the summer, and keep Kai Havertz and Jesus. So they're either going to look at these two players as the potential one long-term target they want who's 21 they can mould, and Watkins is a Premier League proven striker they want now, or they're not going to get Watkins and they're going to move for Sesko in the summer. It's clearly showing a little bit of ambition for once that we're like, nah, do you know what? Yeah, we want Sesko, but we need something now. So 60 million is going to have to be lumped onto Watkins. But I want to know how much Villa see that he's worth and how long will Arsenal go? Will we just keep going and going and going and going? There's 65, there's 70, there's 75, there's 80. Or will we get to an 80 or 90 and go, right, stop. That's too much. Because it is. Because for me, if there's a chance for us to get Victor Gyökeres for 75 to 80, we should be going for him, not Watkins. Victor Gyökeres is firing across Europe. And he's £84 million release clause from what we understand. Watkins is not firing across Europe. He's not doing it for club and country like Victor Gyökeres is. Watkins is not firing in the Champions League and the Premier League, but Gyökeres is doing it for his club, his league, Champions League, country, and he's on fire. He's 26 years old, not 29. And people will say 29 is old in football. It's not. He's still got 4 or 5 years. We signed Aubameyang at 28. We signed... who else? We've signed other players at Manchester United signed Robin van Persie at 29 years old. You know, Barcelona signed Thierry Henry at that age. So it's not like he's washed. But he's certainly not someone that I think can develop and grow and be blossom into an unbelievable centre forward. I like the player. Always have. I like him. I do. I like Ollie Watkins. Big gooner. Can imagine him in the 14 shirt. I'm sure it'd be a dream for him. But he does miss chances. He does feel the pressure. And he scored brilliant goals against us. You got to ask yourself a question. Is he better than Havertz? Yes. Is he better than Jesus? Yes. I would have said a season or two ago that Jesus was better than Watkins. But I think the consistent amount of goals has proven that this is a guy who scores and Jesus just doesn't score that amount. So in terms of a footballer, I think Jesus is probably better. But Watkins as a finisher, by far better. By far better. Very interesting to see what happens here. More rumours from John Cross. Arsenal were also interested in Matthias Tell. He's indicated his intention to move. They like Nico Williams and Semenyo, but neither would be available until the summer. So again, the players we're looking at highlighting are not available until the summer. We want Sesko. He's available in the summer, not now. Now we're looking at Watkins. We want Nico Williams and Ademola Lookman and these players. They're available in the summer. So now we've gone for Matthias Tell. So it looks as if we're going to try and get both of these deals done from what these journalists are saying. I just don't know that I believe that to be the truth. Then the rest of them at the moment, rumours is, of course, being filled with tonight's win against Girona. So I think that right now is where I think it stops, unless I've missed something. Yeah. Ethan Nwaneri, player of the match tonight, well-deserved. Big time well-deserved as well. Thought he was excellent. By far the best player for Arsenal, in my opinion. So where do we go here? We have to look potentially at what this means for Ollie Watkins. It's all eyes on John Durant now. If he's going Saudi, I think Ollie Watkins stays. If Villa say no, John Durant's staying, maybe Ollie Watkins gets the move. One of them wants to play up top. Not both of them. I don't know why Unai Emery doesn't look to play both of them personally, but for whatever reason, he wants to play a lone striker. So for me, we're going to have to look at in the next 24 hours what Villa are going to be doing, because I think one of them wants to go. It looks as if it's a Ramsdale Raya situation. They're not both going to be happy. One of them wants to go. Which one are going to be letting go? Big up to my guy Suj. He's gifted 5 memberships. Absolute legend. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate that. Make sure you hit the like button, people. At the moment, we have only got 143 likes. There's nearly 800 of you in here. So please make sure you do me a favor. Hit the like and subscribe button. Please hit that now. Thank you. Chaitanya has said, sell Sterling. Yamal versus Waneri in the Ballon d'Or of 2030. Wow. I mean, I will say this now. I think Lamine Yamal is probably one of the best players in the world right now. He looks absolutely ridiculous. To be a 17-year-old and be that good is quite scary. But yeah, look, Yamal and Waneri are 2 players that I think in the future are going to be spoken about. I hope that Waneri can get to that level because Yamal is an absolute baller. NetTweeter says, don't believe Arteta one bit. Too little too late in his now 6th season or tenure of charity dinner plates, and he's done nothing Poch had not done for Spurs. Netweed also goes on to say it's embarrassing. We're a fair weather picnic club. Netweed, I know you're not happy, but do you know what? We're being linked at the moment with these players, and we have to talk about it. We do. Suj, big up to you, bro. Thanks for the super chat. He says, what I will say, if Arsenal actually do bid for Watkins, bring me something over a Sterling or Havertz. But why leave it to the last week of the window? Because that's what we do. We all knew this was going to happen, Suj. We all knew it was going to be lastminute.com. And this is what happens when you bid last minute. You can't negotiate well because there ain't enough time to negotiate. There isn't enough space for us to start talking about who we might want to add into deals and who we might want to look to move on or move out. Right now, it's going to be panic stations. Look, if Villa are going to be accepting 77 million for Duran, I imagine they're going to want similar for Ollie Watkins. And then what are they going to do with that money? Are they going to sell both their strikers? No, they're not. So if Duran's done, we ain't getting Watkins. That ain't going to happen, people. That's why I give it a 3 or 4 out of 10 potential chance. I do not believe there is a chance that we get Watkins if Duran goes to Saudi Arabia. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I really don't. I think that's going to be very, very tricky to do because they're going to say, oh, hang on a minute, we've just got rid of our striker. We're going to bring in João Felix, but Watkins is now our guy. He's the one that we're looking at. That's what we've got to be looking at, man. So I'm sorry, there's no way I can get behind this one. Going through, I think it's going to be very, very difficult, I must say. So yeah, man, I don't know. Look, would I take Watkins? Yes. Is he an upgrade on Havertz? Absolutely, he is. But I just don't see it happening because I don't believe that if Duran goes, Watkins goes as well. That's what I will say. We are literally 99 away from 32k, people. 99 of you need to hit the subscribe button to get us up to 32k. That is literally what I need you two guys to do right now. Hit the like button as well. I'm going to redirect you over to Northside because he is currently doing his fan cam. So go show Northside some love. We're going to be raiding him now. Northside LDN. Let me set this up. Here we go. Let's get you sent all over there. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere, people. Let's make sure I haven't missed any super chats. No, I haven't done. So that's that. Listen, people, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe. Make sure you stay tuned. You're going to be heading over to Northside. We're going to send you over there right now. And stay tuned for the Ollie Watkins stuff. We'll see you next time, people. We're out of here. Big up and up the Arsenal.